Probably not who you are expecting as one of your main stage speakers. So let's just get past the elephant in the room. I'm 22 years old, I've never had a real job, and I was a university student for only one semester. What? You were expecting me to say something different? Many of us have had a reckoning in the last 2 years when it comes to how we see people. There used to be a distinction between our personal and professional lives. The pandemic, as painful as it has been for so many, has brought forth the humanity in all parts of our lives. We couldn't hide our dog barking or the occasional kid barging into the room during all those Zoom meetings and presentations, but that also meant uncovering parts of our past and society that ignited pain and confusion. Social justice issues truly came to the forefront in the summer of 2020, as years of systemic inequity could no longer be ignored. Mental health disparities opened the door and amplified the need for more effective solutions. We saw the breaking of barriers as we became more relatable to one another. We understood the many things we had to juggle in order to show up, and the conflicting priorities we had to deal with while trying to accomplish a never-ending to-do list, which often included changing the world. We began relating to each other on a more human level, and now we are seeing ourselves in each other in ways that we have never before. Rather than using our energy to try to create a more perfect persona, we started embracing the flaws and shortcomings of one another, but ultimately ourselves. Our authenticity, whether we wanted it to or not, came barreling out. When we take a step back and think about society as a whole, someone like me historically would not have been given the space to have a presence on a stage like this, or even a seat at the table to begin with. For example, the word disability still makes some people cringe, quite literally. This is a result of society being told for so long that being disabled is a detriment. Another reason why someone like me would not have been given space is because we have an assumption that young people don't have enough lived experience or credentials in order to provide value or make an impact. I disrupted these two limiting beliefs before my 18th birthday. Following severe cyberbullying by my high school peers, I helped bring forth two new laws in the state of Virginia, one on anti-bullying and the other requiring social and emotional learning curriculum be taught across every single public school classroom across the state. Thank you so much. I realized through living in a world not designed for someone like me, I had the ability to create change by using my voice and lived experience to be a catalyst for good. Had I not taken the chance and been given the opportunity to testify, current students in Virginia public schools may not be learning about empathy or even healthy coping strategies. But what that really boils down to is how we see ourselves. What happens when we don't take that leap, the chance to speak up or empower others to do the same? Not only are we denying ourselves the opportunity to learn and grow, but we are also denying the world a potential solution that others could benefit from. Whether it's a post we are sharing on LinkedIn, presentation to our team, or even thinking about the end of our time here on Earth, we want to matter. When we reach this realization, we become more intentional in how we show up. If you think about it, we all want to be seen, heard, and understood. We want our presence to make a mark, our work to mean something, and to impact the world. That's certainly what brings us all here to SIS. But how are we to leave a legacy if we are not letting our true essence emerge in not only our work, but also our everyday interactions. What if each one of us were to drop the persona of who we think we, quote, should be, and instead bring forth the youest you? In a world where we are constantly told through social media we must live in an edited version of what our lives actually are, it is much easier said than done. I've found through personal experience that people are much more drawn to us when we drop the filters and the need to perform a fake version of ourselves. This is a universal truth no matter our current chapter of life. Connection is created on the very foundation of being able to relate and build trust. In order to truly see someone, we sometimes must allow ourselves to feel uncomfortable as we step away from preconceived judgments that, quite frankly, we all carry with us. What I would simply suggest is to smile, say hello. We may not know what it's like to be in someone else's shoes, but empathy allows us to relate to one another's experience by walking alongside them. In order for us to show up with empathy, we must first learn to express it towards ourselves. It all starts with ensuring the voice inside our head speaks to us in the same manner as we speak to someone we love and respect. Our impact becomes that much more exponential when we learn to express the gift of empathy. I learned this firsthand when I was 15 years old. I was in the airport with my family, Richmond, Virginia, and a woman with this distinctive black bob, very bright red lips approached. She started asking me a whole slew of questions as we were both in line at TSA, from, what is this device? Do you have a genetic condition? And then, what is your purpose? We spoke for just a couple of minutes in line at TSA, but then went our separate ways. We continued the conversation as we realized we were both on the same flight, and she introduced herself as Haley. It was then that she shared her story with me as I shared a little bit more about mine, and she revealed herself as one of the original organizers of TEDx Talks. It was a few months later that I shared my story for the very first time in front of 2,000 people on that iconic red circle. More importantly, though, this moment was a catalyst in my journey that led me to discover the power of showing up as myself. Rather than stare or ignore me altogether, Haley approached and inquisitively started asking questions. Isn't it extraordinary to think how a random hello can quite literally change the trajectory of someone's life? What I learned that day by being myself on stage was the ability to connect with others. We frequently see ourselves in each other's stories. Being born with a rare form of dwarfism, where I am one of 84 people in the world to have this condition called metatropic dysplasia, I had constantly felt disconnected prior to this life-altering experience of giving my TEDx talk. And yet, despite this feeling of connection, as a high school freshman, it would be 2 years later, halfway through my 11th grade, that I was forced to leave my school due to the extreme cyberbullying that I was dealing with. Whether in our personal or professional lives, it's guaranteed that we're going to experience unexpected turbulence that knocks us from our highest highs down to the lowest lows. Looking back, I can attribute how the devastating isolation from this vicious cyberbullying drove me to seek new solutions. Feeling so broken, I was led to take an inward journey as I quickly realized I couldn't control people or things outside of myself, and quickly discovered that I didn't need to change everything for everything to change. In learning self-awareness and empathy, I began celebrating my uniqueness and discovered how wrong I was to try to blend in. Not only is it incredibly exhausting to maintain an image of someone that you are not, but ultimately we also prevent others from being their authentic selves too. The more you can lean into your youest you, the more doors and opportunities come your way. Never would I have envisioned myself a model for New York Fashion Week, being the author of 2 books, or having the privilege of working with some of the most notable companies in the world. Showing up is an incredibly powerful act, and sometimes it takes others helping us see and unearth gifts within us that we don't even know exist yet. Imagine how each of us can be that person for someone else, and the ripples of impact that could be created as a result. Each day, I believe we have 2 fundamental choices to make. Do I allow the overwhelm that I am currently experiencing to consume me? Or do I choose my thoughts and realize the only person I can control is me? Choosing our thoughts really means making our inner voice louder than the noise around us. It is the foundation needed to leverage our uniqueness as a superpower and be of utmost service to the world. Isn't that the reason why we are all here, both in this very room and on this earth? As I think about my 14-year-old self, I distinctly recall the excruciating leg pain that I experienced that limited my daily activities. I sought help from my orthopedic surgeon, and as I explained to him the solutions that I was seeking, I was presented with 2 things, either a wheelchair or a motorized scooter. Both of those options would require me to look up at the world more than I do already. And I realized my quality of life could be elevated literally and figuratively by a device that allowed me to stand on my 2 feet. So that's where the idea of this segue popped into my head. Innovating your own solution means finding the unconventional answers that move you forward. Over time, I've realized how we can all innovate our own solution when we stand true to ourselves and recognize our self-worth. Being my meest me led me right here, to this moment, where I stand in front of hundreds of the top social impact professionals across the globe. When we shift the lens through which we see ourselves, the world around us shifts. Where will being the youest you take you? Thank you.